Obsession. A true story. The unfolding of a very complex process of obsession, with its main roots planted deep in the mysterious soil of past incarnations, with many implications projected into the future of those involved.
Hello friends, and welcome to another study of the book Obsession, psychographed by Divaldo Pereira Franco, dictated by the spirit of Manuel Filomeno de Miranda. In our study of tonight, we will see clearly how the laws of action and reaction work in perfect harmony with God's love to provide us with the present. The present is indeed the most beautiful, loving opportunity we have that has been designed by God in order to allow us to rescue ourselves from misunderstandings that we have made in the past. The present is therefore a new learning opportunity for us to redress mistakes that we have made in the past due to lack of understanding or of knowledge of our particular situation from the perspective of immortal spirits. Isn't it beautiful, dear friends, to know that the present is indeed our most precious gift? So let us prepare ourselves to be fully present in this very moment by saying a beautiful prayer of gratitude to God for the gift of the present. Dear God, thank you so much for designing this lifetime perfectly for us. Thank you so much for providing us with the opportunity to re-encounter all of those with whom we need to redress previous life choices. Thank you for allowing us to have the opportunity to act in more loving, more compassionate, more beautiful and Christian ways. Thank you for allowing us to transform our very own tendencies by taking advantage of the present and all of the beautiful re-encounters that it provides us. Thank you for providing us also with the gift of the Spiritist understanding of life, for we now see ourselves as immortal spirits, and we see therefore our life now as a continuum of our past choices and as an open door to more beautiful choices for the future. So thank you for planting so many seeds of hope and compassion in the garden of our hearts. Let us pray so that we are able to be all the more present in the present in order to see the beautiful, loving signs of hope that you spread all along the way. So be it. Dear friends, enjoy the study of tonight.
Chapter 21. Hidden Crimes. The evil spirit waits for the other whom he dislikes to be linked to his physical body, so that, less free, he is more vulnerable, easier to be tormented, hurt in his personal interests or in his most dear affections. In this fact lies the cause of most cases of obsession. especially those which are more severe, like subjugation and possession. The obsessed and the possessed are thus almost always victims of a revenge, the motive being in a previous life in which the sufferer created through his own behavior. God permits this in order to punish them for the evil they had themselves done, or, if this is not the case, for not practicing the charity of forgiveness. Gospel according to Spiritism, Chapter 10, Item 6. When Colonel Santa Maria had assumed the appearance he had in his last incarnation, Bezzera brought into the room an appliance similar to a TV set, with a screen approximately 15 by 10 inches wide. The machine began to work immediately, as if supplied by a strange, unknown energy. The screen started showing scenes of a colorful and busy city. Bezzera approached the colonel and suggested, "Remember more deeply. Think of Eduardina Hossa. Plunge deep down into the memories of Monsignor Severo Augusto de Materis. Remember." The powerful suggestion started a complete transmutation. Wrinkles appeared on the man's emaciated face. His lips tightened. His eyes shone. A nervous tic on the right side of the face twisted his mouth. The colonel sat down, holding his head with both hands, and plunged to a deep trance. As he concentrated on his past, his mental images, very lively and colorful, were projected on the screen. We saw a row of ancient three-story Baroque houses on winding stone-slab streets, amongst small green hills over which loomed many Roman Catholic churches. On the steep streets, large old houses with many doors and windows protected by colorful green iron balconies. It was a sunny day, and a great excitement in the Say Square anticipated a procession. Inside a 14th century church, the Mass, officiated by several priests and higher dignitaries, was reaching its most solemn moment. An attentive and contrite crowd was following the religious chants when the litter was raised and the procession began. Noblemen and higher members of the clergy held the canopy over the bishop, who carried the monstrance. Young sacristans walked behind the bishop holding his gold-embroidered paraments. Along the way, the devout Catholic had to kneel down as the bishop raised the monstrance. Right behind the bishop and ahead of the city's patron saint image walked Monsignor Severo de Materis, reciting the litany and ejaculatory prayers. Young boys from aristocratic families swung silver censers where delicate incense was burnt into white smoke that curled up in the clean air. The procession approached a large estate which covered an entire block. There at the main entrance, a lady in her late 40s, dressed in the heavy colors of mourning for her deceased husband, was kneeling, followed by a retinue of pages, servants, and chambermaids. At Monsignor's salutation, the lady answered with a nod. She was the most feared lady, Donna Eduardina Hossa de Monteval de Alcancinado. Her contracted countenance seemed to please the old priest, because his thin, drooping lips curled up into a sneer. Although his physical body showed visible decay, Monsignor was only 52 years old. A strong-willed and ascetic man, he was inflamed by a morbid passion for the determined lady we've just described. The scene changes. Now evening falls. The priest holds a little folded piece of paper, bearing an identification seal and arms. He opens it and reads it eagerly. On the screen, we see him take a dark cloak, put on a large brimmed hat, and walk off in great excitement. Soon he reaches the big house, now hidden in the shadows of old trees. He rings a noisy bell. A maid admits him and leads him into a carpeted chamber with heavy curtained windows. The servant asks him to sit down and goes into the inner rooms to announce him. A soft bluish light shines from an opal lamp placed on a wood-carved console. Then there are only the shadows of the night, the stars above and the stillness of silence around. When the communicating door opens and the widow walks into the room, Monsignor stands up and kisses the hand she offers him. She displays arrogance and disgust in his presence, but manages to control herself. "I came as soon as I got your message," he said. "There's not much to talk about, Your Excellency. I'm willing to review the past, start over again, and even to ask your forgiveness. I see now how terribly mistaken I was. I can't stand defeat. I feel morally dead, and perhaps a little physically dead, too. Anyway, I won't be able to tolerate such an affront unless," she hesitated, "what do you want me to do?" "If you really love me as you say you do, avenge my outraged honor." "How so?" "Avenge me. As you know, I surrendered to the charms of Don Casimiro, which caused the discord between Your Excellency and me. Well, he has robbed me, and after breaking my heart cruelly, humiliating me to the point of my asking him to stay with me, he threw a few hard truths at my face together with his contempt. I hate him. I'll pay any price to get them." "Get them?" asked the priest, a little confused. "Him and who else?" "Maria do Socorro, my niece." "What has she got to do with this, the poor girl? She hasn't even grown into a woman yet." "She gave herself up to him, thus betraying me and disgracing herself. She will bear a loathsome child by that scoundrel." "Good Lord, don't say that. Isn't this an infamy? You must remember the punishment reserved to slanderers." "Shut up, Your Excellency," cried the lady angrily, "and don't talk to me about sin, punishment, or penance. Not to me. Not to us who have used the church for our own benefit and disgrace. I believe in God. The rest I don't know. I don't know." "Don't utter such blasphemies." "I'm only honest. It's enough to live longing to love as the French do, and instead to have to stay here and bury myself in this small town, choked by ignorance and prejudice. Please don't mention the French, these betrayers of God. They installed their first constitutional regime about 10 years ago. They usurped and robbed the church, and threw priests and nuns out in the streets. You know that Napoleon is an enemy of our country. Let's forget political problems and return to what interests us," the lady said. "I want victory over them. What is your price?" The priest rose, walked to the window, opened a curtain, and looked out for a few minutes. Then he turned round and grunted, "Your faithfulness to me till death, for his death." "And what about her?" "She's your niece. What do you want done? Did she know of your love for him?" "She certainly did. She even surprised us together once or twice. She took him from me with her youth and beauty that I loathe. I suggest that she be confined to a cloister for repentant souls. What do you think?" "I agree." They shook hands. She opened a small cabinet, took out a crystal bottle, poured a stimulating cordial into 2 delicate chalices, and they drank to crime. That sinister agreement sealed their destinies into the future, to thread a long road of darkness and unpredictable suffering. At this point, Bezzera, who was guiding Santa Maria's trails of recollection, seeing the colonel panting anxiously, gave him some passes to help calm him down and stop his memories. Then Bezzera approached Matthias and suggested, "Now your turn, Matthias. You must remember Casimiro. Remember the day you were required to present yourself in court." Yes, said Matthias. "That's what happened." His words trailed away. As Matthias buried himself in his past life memories, new images began to be projected on the screen. we saw a handsome, frivolous young man who used his charms to seduce restless young girls. He had come to Braga from Leira, where his family owned large tracts of land and a title of rank. He had come to Braga to try the ecclesiastical career, which seemed to him the most profitable and propitious one, as it offered an outlet for the negative impulses that dominated him. In the seminary, he became first envied, then hated by his teachers, and unable to bear the rigorous seminary discipline, he was taken ill. He then asked for special leave, which was granted, and afterwards he was officially exempted. During his health problem, his family advised him to stay with the Alcancelato's widow, a good friend of theirs. That was when he first met the lady. They started a love affair. After some time, she wanted him to marry her, which he refused. By then, he had already seduced her niece, and pressed by the circumstances, he told the lady about his affair with the girl, adding that he planned to marry her out of love so that he could honor her and make their child legitimate. The lady reacted, of course. After a violent quarrel, he left her house and moved to the home of a friend. He was getting ready to return to Leira, where he received a notification from the Holy Office, the Inquisition, commanding him to the church tribunal. He was immediately imprisoned in order to answer charges preferred against him. He was accused of theft, indecorous behavior towards the church, and of seducing minors into prostitution. Monsignor de Martyrs, a man of great prestige both in the civil and religious communities in the city and the country, was the powerful hand pulling the strings behind the curtains of the accusations. Casimiro was submitted to an arbitrary and secret trial, suffered intense physical tortures, and died even before the sentence was pronounced. After his death, liturgical ceremonies were carried out to absolve his soul of sin. The family was comforted with condolences from the church and with the promise of eternal life for the deceased, and the crime was forgotten. In his recollections, Casimiro went from tears to threats, despair to promise of revenge. Satisfied, Bezerra brought him back from the past into the present, but let him keep his past memories. The ex-Casimiro, now again Matias, was handed over to the care of the spirit nurse. Bezerra concentrated now on the widow, Eduardina Rosa, whose past life memories he started to direct. He led her to think of the revenge she had taken on her niece. The girl had been sent into a convent whose nuns dedicated themselves to the care of fallen young ladies. These nuns also meant to hide from the society what the girl's parents considered as fruits of shame and disgrace, namely, their bastard children. Within the convent walls, like strong jailhouses, those girls were practically buried from the world. There, some of them grew mad out of despair and revolt. The suffering they experienced there marked their spirits for many years, sometimes through several reincarnations. It was in one such house, the convent of the Reformed nuns of Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception in Lisbon, that the girl bore her child. The child was promptly sent to an orphanage, and she never saw her baby daughter again. This home, also a fraternity, kept a moving wheel where bastard children were abandoned anonymously to conceal their parents' identity. The characters that had lived through this drama were all reincarnated now. Matias's bastard and rejected daughter as his mother, Maria do Socorro as Josefa, his sister. Eduardina was Esther, and Monsignor dos Martires as Colonel Santa Maria, Esther's father. Meanwhile, in Eduardina's mind, new pictures were being formed. It was the face of a venerable lady who helped her from the spirit world. Eduardina made a great effort to remember, trying to identify the lady, while at the same time she exclaimed, "Mother, Mother, why didn't you stand by me? You'd have made me refrain from such madness. You exerted such powerful influence over me." Tears ran down her face as she spoke. Tears cried by the past personality, Eduardina Hossa, but that rolled down Esther's face, the present personality. Two Earth personalities, the same spiritual individuality, past and present mingled in one sorrow. Then the scene began to fade out, as Becerra brought her back to the present and reality. Afterwards, directed by Becerra, all of the people involved in the age regression process were brought back into the present and reality. Passes were given to shade their memories from their minds so that the images should not perturb their normal life. In a few minutes, Colonel Santa Maria, Esther, and Matthias resumed the appearance they had in their present lives. Donna Margarita had watched the age regression process serenely, but when the screen showed Maria de Socorro being sent to the cloister and consequently forced to give up her child, the noble lady could not help being moved to tears. When she heard Eduardina calling her mother, she trembled with maternal emotion and felt an impulse to run to the girl and help her, comfort her, hold her in her arms. However, she refrained from doing so. The moment was one of much seriousness and asked for cooperation and self-balance. Donna Margarita was fully aware of the need for alertness, so she would keep her patience and faith. Nevertheless, she identified herself with that mother. She found herself fully alive in Eduardina's memories and felt she was again her mother in the new life as Esther. They were together again to drink the bitter medicine that was to deliver them all of their sufferings. She would do her best to help Matthias's present family. She would welcome the ones her daughter had thrown out into the streets. They would find a shelter in her home and a home in her heart. This would give Esther a chance to live side by side with her former rival. She would teach Esther to love the old lady so that they could help those same spirits she had denied support in the past. As she meditated, making these noble plans for the future, she did not realize that the ingenious machine was picking up her thoughts and translating them into images that were shown on the screen and seen by everyone. Surprised by the lady's superior dispositions, the impulses of Matthias's better nature were aroused for the first time in many years of incessant restlessness, and he was moved to tears. Becerra, who followed Esther's mother's thoughts carefully, encouraged her to carry out the redeeming program, since love is the only way to peace and self-adjustment. He also confirmed her position as Eduardina's mother in the past life they had just examined and relived so intensely. He stressed the precision of God's laws that reunite the characters involved in a same drama so that they may have the chance to rebuild their lives through manifold resources, including family ties, so that emotional, physical, economical, and sentimental dependency may open ways to the readjustment and forgiveness required of us in the ascent towards God. A more careful analysis of this case, Becerra told us, would reveal that this very same group of spirits comes from other diversified experiences, which brought them together in the past life experience we have just seen on the screen, and in which they unfortunately failed. Unprepared as they were at that opportunity for fraternal understanding, which would enable them to substitute self-denial for greed, moral continence for lust, simplicity for pride, they sank deeper down into the dark waters of suffering, arming themselves with cunning and impudence, revenge and treason. They have now once again been brought together to a new life, in which they must use the tools of gentleness and unselfishness to attain superior goals. A very long road all of us still have to travel before we find the long-sought happiness. On this continual journey, we shall correct our errors and adjust grievances we once left scattered by the roadside. At the same time, we will plant flowers of joy and good deeds, which in time will stand for us as witness of our good intentions. Bezzecca paused so that the lessons we had just heard had time to sink deep into our understanding and wait there for further meditation. In fact, whoever can claim victory before the last step of the journey is taken, the future may bring unlooked-for surprises or eventual failures. For those who are incarnate, each living minute is a challenge. The warning, watch and pray, needs constant attention. A comforting thought or a degrading idea. A blissful memory or a strong attachment to material things establishes the difference between grief and serenity at the moment of death, and will have a considerable influence upon our behavior as we step into the spirit world. Despair or harmony can be attained by anyone, depending on which one attunes to. We had all listened to Bezzecca's words with great attention and joy, looking forward to the future. Bezzecca resumed his line of specific explanation. Some of you here tonight, he said, will wake up in your physical bodies tomorrow, remembering a journey in a strange land where you fought with cruel and infernal ghosts. Others will recall a meeting in the spirit world where they helped to treat patients suffering from mental alienation. Some will remember the help given to Esther and Matthias against a confused background of fleeting, vague images. One will mention a nightmare. Another will think he's visited paradise. Nevertheless, we are all in the same world where the two phases of life, physical and spiritual, interblend. On this very earth, our mother, our school for progress. Turning to those more deeply involved in Esther's obsessive process, he added, "You have seen that you are responsible for each other's failures, that you've built up your own unhappiness. It is not very important that you ask each other's forgiveness. You must help one another, as the evangelical teachings command. Matthias's peace of mind will depend on Colonel Santa Maria's fraternal help. For it is but just that the one who once destroyed his hopes should now build his joy. Nobody will enjoy the happiness he did not learn to share with the one whose tears he's responsible for. Esther's total recovery will depend upon the direction she gives her own life from now on. The evil we do charges us in return with a heavy interest of hard work when we're called to redress a wrong. Esther's mediumship, which has made it possible for her to associate with Matthias, can be converted into service to many sufferers who dwell on the shores of discouragement. Whatever we share with our neighbor does not diminish our supply of love. On the contrary, it increases our portion. The grafted tree multiplies as it's divided. Every self-donation through mediumship represents a priceless accomplishment for self-illumination. Our sisters Abigail and Josepha, respectfully Matthias's mother and sister, will be the test ground for the objectives we have in mind. This is a battle where there are no defeated. On the contrary, everyone will come out a winner if he is to fight with the arms of goodwill and charity. The winners on earth usually shine for a very short time and then fall down on top of the defeated. With Jesus, however, those who fall down in the fight rise up as winners, because he rises them to the higher planes of boundless bliss. So let us consider our own limitations and try to understand one another. I had the feeling that everyone in the room was engaged in opportune self-analysis, for in the vibration that filled the room, we sensed important decisions being made and promises of hard work to preserve self-balance and live the truth. Some of our friends had been greatly moved and kept an attitude of deep respect. At last, our mentor said, "We are not going to end here the service we propose to render. We will change place and techniques for future actions. We shall go on helping ourselves through the service rendered to our suffering brothers. As you have been helped, so you are invited to help. Have trust in God. Open yourselves up to love and stay together, moving ahead towards the harbor of fraternity, where the ship of happiness will be waiting for you. Let us pray now." And in a clear voice filled with emotion, he thanked God for the luminous privileges granted to all of us that night. As he prayed, sweet vibrations of peace and hope reached us like strains of a heavenly melody coming from afar.
What a beautiful, enlightening, true account, dear friends, of how much God's mercy and love is present in our lives, right? Isn't it beautiful to know that when we are in the spiritual realm during physical sleep, it is possible for us to revisit a past life in order to dissolve limitations that may be hurting us at the present moment, and in order to let go of emotional trauma that does not allow us to move forward? Isn't it beautiful to know that in the spiritual realm there are lots of resources available for us so that we may live in harmony, in unity with ourselves, truly present in the present? Amazing, right? God's love goes miles and miles further than we ever thought, correct? Expanding itself to horizons never imagined. This is the beauty of the Spiritist approach to life. All the veils of the unknown are lifted, and we now know through both reason and faith that God's love manifests itself in all dimensions of life, including during our physical sleep, where it is possible for us to meet with loved ones and with those whom we have issues at times in order to resolve them. How beautiful it is, dear friends, how consoling it is for us to know that therapeutic sessions are available for us in the spiritual realm to allow us to free ourselves all the more of limitations that we may still carry from our heart, in our hearts, from impressions that may still be resonating strongly in our spirits. So blessed be the opportunities for reflection and transformation that is available to us as immortal spirits, even during sleep time. This is what we learn in the Spiritist approach to life as intelligent sleep. What we heard in the account described in the chapter of tonight is a true example of what intelligent sleep may look like. The people or spirits in question, described here to us firsthand, receive the opportunity to do counseling or therapy that includes regression in order to free themselves from impressions of the past that were hurting them in the present. So how beautiful it is that we can transform ourselves no matter what, even during physical sleep. So now we know we have all the more responsibility to sleep responsibly and to make sure that the sacred time of physical rest is productive for the spirit. We also learn through this beautiful study of tonight how much Forgiveness is important, but not forgiveness in the mechanical sense of the word, something that we know we must do, but forgiveness in the sense of freeing ourselves from resentments that may be weighing us down at times for centuries, right? So it is important for us, as we learned through the study of the chapter tonight, to let go of those resentments by literally doing perhaps affirmations, affirming to ourselves that we are free to make new choices in the present time, and that we let go of the need to hold any anger or resentment towards any of the people whom we know. We can set ourselves free to live in the present in an even more fulfilling way. And now we know that yet one more loving resource is available to us, the resource of prayer, asking for help from our spirit mentors, and a resource of many therapeutic assistances available to us in the spiritual realm through intelligent sleep. So let us meditate upon the much that we learn by sharing another prayer of gratitude and love for the Creator who provides us with so much every day. Loving Creator, thank you for providing us with many opportunities of healing from the heart out. Thank you for cleansing our hearts from resentment or anger, and allowing us to open our hearts to live in the present and for the present with you. Thank you for the mercy with which you embrace each and every one of us. And thank you for the opportunity that you give us to change our thoughts, to become more loving, kinder, more compassionate, and therefore create a more loving and compassionate life for ourselves and for others, as we see in the chapters that we are studying through this beautiful book. Our thoughts and feelings create our lives and choices that we live. So we pray so that in and through your kindness and mercy, you allow us to be all the more aligned with your loving presence in every thought, every feeling, every choice that we make. May we become mirrors of your loving presence in our very own lives and in the lives of all the others with whom we interact in both realms. So be it. Thank you for your loving guidance, dear God, Father, Mother, Creator of all of us. And until we meet again, dear friends, we wish you many, many blessings of love and peace.